Hello, everyone. This is JD Calderon, and this is Indy Comics Explained. Yet again, I brought another fantastic group of independent comic book professionals. So please hit like, hit subscribe, share out the video, let everybody know we're here. And don't forget, last, 18 hours or so on Kickstarter, the Oswald Chronicles is live. Another 18 hours. Link in the show notes. Go check it out. Without further ado, I brought this guy on a little bit sober today.
He brought me back. What's up, Streamland? Thanks for joining us. Thanks for continuing to come back. Sometimes I'm smacked out of my mind and I don't know what I'm saying. And sometimes I'm not smacked out of my mind and I still don't know what I'm saying. So thank you all for continuing to come back to listen to us and, the creators that keep coming back and sharing their experiences out there, folks.
All right, cool. And in the Coco spot, it's Mr. Marcus, who looks like he hasn't slept in 3 days.
Yeah, that's generally the move. This is the face that happens when you've been drawn for like 5 hours straight before going into a show. Such is life. But hello, everyone. I'm Marcus McNeal, editor-in-chief of Odyssey Comics. And here's your co-host, which is actually a surprise to me. I didn't realize I was co-host today. So I'll have to think of a question while we're cycling through everything.
You too?
Yes, I think, Jay. I think.
Nice. All right. And we got on.
This is my third stream in the last 2 days, and I've still got a whole bunch of energy. So I'm here to debate Tom the whole show. That's what the whole thing's going to be. Whatever Tom says, I'm going to say the opposite. Because he still hasn't watched Dark Man, and I'm very upset. Very upset. Let's get it going. Right. Let's rock. Let's do it. Let's do this.
Fair enough. There you go.
Ding, 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 ding. Oh.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on. My name is Ben Dunn, and I'm the founder of Antarctic Press and a creator of Ninja High School. Nice to meet you all, fellas.
All right.
How you doing, Ben?
Good.
Ben, good having you back.
Sorry, I'm not putting my face on, but
that's okay. Don't worry about it. There's certain individuals here that I wish would have put their face on too, but they do.
All right.
In your face. In your face, kid.
What's up, guys? This is I'm not as cool as Marvin. This is only 2 shows in 2 days for me, but I got another one tomorrow. So I'm gonna at least be 3 for 3 once I go on Carissa's show tomorrow. So Tom Hutchison, Big Dog Inc., and soon to be officially, well, technically already officially Antarctic Press as well. Nice. Thanks to this gentleman right next door to me. So
the honor's all mine.
Very cool.
Very cool.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? I'm Randy Zimmerman. I am editor-in-chief, Arrow Comics. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
All right, Randy, a pleasure as always, sir.
Randy, that beard, bro. What's up? What's happening?
It's winter. It's winter. It'll go away soon. First day it hit 70, it's gone. So,
I think
still in for another week.
Jerry Garcia's on here with us right now.
Yeah. That's the wife calls it my Santa Claus look.
Oh,
so there we are.
Yep. I don't know. He looks distinguished.
Trying to make me look more jolly.
There you go. You got the red. Is it red or orange? I can't tell.
It's red. It's cranberry, technically. Right. So yeah, dark red.
Nice. Jay is very beard oriented. He gets very upset when mine goes away. He's just like, "Oh my God, Tom, what the hell happened?" I'm like, I gave it a month. I don't need it anymore.
That's it. But I mean, come on, man. Come on. Bro.
About a month, and then it's just once it reaches the point where I'm collecting food in it, for like later when I'm laying down in bed and I'm like, oh, there's like some extra food in there. That's going away. It
starts itching. Yeah.
All right.
I get rid of it when I start sweating. It's time to go.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Enough of that shit.
Let them talk about their beards. Let them talk. Just because you can't grow one doesn't mean you got to shun everybody else.
I don't give 2 shits about their beards.
You see what's on?
Well, we either got to talk about beards, or I got to tell Jay again why Spider-Man is not good. I mean, it's one or the other.
So now that
somebody already left the group. Oh, JD. Yeah,
someone was removed.
The bottom spot now. Yeah.
It's not my fault you can't grow a fucking beard. Okay, what's on your face is taking 9 months.
So I mean, this just might be a recurring theme today. Anyway, so
It won't be denied, damn it.
It's all shuffles.
He's still going. He's still going.
He's still going.
Center square, yeah. Oh,
There you are. Put Ben in the center square, the N.B. Davis square. Yeah. Paul Lynn.
I know I screwed this up anyway. Anyway, whatever. So let's get to the damn question of the show. All right, we're talking about the direct market. All of us have been talking about it. All of us have some tangential connections to it. Some of us have direct connections to it. Some of us have some direct aversions to it. Right, Marcus?
Why are you calling me out?
Well, because you're the dissenter. I told you this.
I don't want to say I'm a dissenter because I'm always a person that tries to look at everything from, let's say, holistic standpoint.
That's fair. That's fair.
And when I look at the direct market, and especially the business as I've been presented to it by, the top dog in the industry, so to speak, when it comes to that, I found it hard to really understand it in a way that makes sense for Odyssey Comics as a business. It makes sense for me as an editor-in-chief and as a leader of a number of creators. I know our creators who desire to get into the direct market. I know what's driving them to do it. I know why they want to do it. But I don't see a lot of situations where it makes a whole lot of sense for us where we are right now in terms of a company. If like I'm not going to be around the bush a whole lot. The direct market fucking sucks for 99.999% of small press publishers. It just is not a business structure that is something that's like beneficial from a financial standpoint. Not I'll preface that financial. On the marketing side, it does a lot because it gives you visibility of being in shops, being in previews, having more exposure, growing as a brand, and building awareness, and that can lead people in. But the number of people, creators and publishers that I've seen be able to pivot direct market exposure into something that is sustainable success for them is I could count on a Ninja Turtle hand. So, so for me, it's something that we're still going to explore. I'm having discussions and I'm taking opportunities to do it, but it has to be right, and it can't be us cutting our nose off to get into the direct market. We want to do it, of course, for the opportunities to grow our brand, support the shops that we work with, and the very, very valuable service they do for kind of being stewards of everything that we love about comics. And just make it work. And that's a harder thing than I realized it would ever be when I first got into this crazy business.
Well, I think that we need to, for people who don't know what we're talking about, should we say what the direct market actually is?
Go for it.
That could be a good preview, yes.
For those of you who are listening who don't know what we mean by direct market, that means we as producers of comics sell directly to comic stores. It used to be comics were distributed on newsstands, and in the late 70s, early 80s, there was the proliferation of, I think Phil Suling, I think he's the one who started the direct market.
He was part of it, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was where he made a deal with Marvel and DC to buy their comics and sell directly to comic stores.
There's actually a longer, more nefarious history behind that I know a couple people are working on books about it. It's a real interesting story, but the direct market term was one that was done, like Ben said, back in the 70s and 80s. Doesn't really apply as much today as it did back then, because back then the publishers would sell directly to the retail shops with no returns. Where before the distributors would send comics out and they would take returns back.
Yes, that was the big selling point, was the non-returnability. Yeah. The publishers, Marvel and DC specifically, liked the idea that they didn't have to deal with returnability, which was always a big, burdensome thing for them to have to deal with. So if they didn't have to do returns, then that was a fantastic way for them to make, massive amounts of profit because they didn't have to do that. Unfortunately, because of that, they abandoned pretty much the newsstand model. And I think that is definitely an example of cutting your nose to spite your face, because, by relying on just one revenue source, then if anything were to happen to that, it would cause a lot of chaos. And, and that's what happened, during the mid 90s, during the big crash.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that and the magazine distributors always considered comics to be second class. Anyway, they used to package them separately. They used to treat them like crap and just toss bundles into the bodegas or the drugstores and just drive off like newspapers.
Second class is probably generous.
Second class, yeah.
Probably fifth or fourth class.
Yeah, probably. Actually, yes.
They were disposable entertainment. I mean, that's what comics.
That's the way they were always looked at. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the reason the direct market really started up was because a lot of these guys in the distributor warehouses were catching books and hoarding them because they knew that the audience for those books were getting so much older, they were willing to pay more. So you have certain books like Starlin's Captain Marvel, P. Craig Russell's Killraven, and books like that were having a really hard time being distributed. I think the big breaking point was Howard the Duck #1. That's the one that they point to as really kicking off the direct market, because you had a lot of people, Phil Suling among them, go up to Marvel and go, hey, why don't you just sell us those books directly? We won't send any back to you. We just want them so that we can sell them in our stores.
Yes.
That was really the start of the direct market.
It was that, and it was the Moon Knight, right? Was made specifically for direct market, and I think Dazzler as well, or no?
Well, it took Marvel a little while to decide to even try to cater to the direct market. When they did, Moon Knight, Kazar, and Shanna the She-Devil were the first 3 regular titles they did.
Gotcha.
But they Dazzler one was a big push for them because they were hoping for Dazzler, the Disco Dazzler, originally to be such a big hit.
Right.
Yes, I think if I know my history correctly, that was the very first non-newsstand direct market comic. But
Dazzler one.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
But the real downfall of the direct market, in my opinion, was when Marvel just got greedy and decided to distribute their own books on their own. And when they bought Heroes World, that sent a ripple through the entire industry that caused everyone to panic. Because a lot of distributors, and there were a lot of distributors. I mean, there were like over a dozen nationwide.
Close to 24. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of regional distributors, and they were all doing really well. Everyone was making money, and everyone was really happy. When Marvel got greedy, and Marvel's definitely infamous for this, is that when they bought Heroes World, they decided to cut out all the other distributors. That sent a panic through the entire direct market, and then that's what caused everyone to start going exclusive. And I always felt that was when the direct market started to die. It's when you won't go exclusive with a distributor, then you no longer have competition for services. You no longer have competition. I mean, you can't reach as wide an audience, as you used to. And so now we're in a situation that now Marvel and DC have now gone on their own. I don't know how successful they have been, but they were bought by corporations, huge corporations. So now they no longer have to rely on comic sales to stay afloat. All they have to do is rely on their corporate masters to, keep the cash flow. The cash must flow, into their coffers, and they don't have to worry about how many comics they sell.
One of the things that confused me about distributors is that they only sold to the direct market, right? To local comic shops. I come from a background of beer sales. We didn't just sell to bars. We sold to bars, bodegas, chain supermarkets, and other minor distributors.
Well, initially they were wholesale distributors. If you had a sales tax license or a business license, they would sell to you.
Well,
but just a lot of those places ended up becoming comic shops.
Well, that's how newsstand distribution worked. There was the regional distributors would get the comic, and they would handle their areas.
Okay.
And even the larger distributors were at a point where they were having separate branches. Like Capital City had a good 20 branches all throughout the continent. Same thing with Diamond.
Right.
It's
Remember,
just
the whole
that
point here of doing this was the non-returnability. Even if a distributor was like, "Hey, we'll sell it to the local newsstands or whatever, those guys would expect the returnability aspect, and they were wiping all that out. So that's where all the directions started to head right to the retail store.
Well, that was a choice at Marvel and DC. They slowly dwindled down selling anything to the newsstands. We all know, or we've all walked into a grocery store, we can still find Archie comics sitting there in a digest next to the checkout counter. They didn't go away. The publishers pulled back on that distribution. So they were getting a crap deal from the magazine distributors anyway, and not treated very well. So where do you want to go? Where you have to take returns, or sell them to these guys by the case and get a check and never have to worry about them again? It's really turned into a no-brainer. Yeah.
So guys, let me jump in here. So the whole thing, that's a good introduction. So
yeah.
The question is how can Indy, like, we know a lot of people starting up, just getting a lot of people are on this panel, new publishers, whatever, right? A lot of people watching, new publishers, they want to get into the direct market, right? So my question is, how do they get in? How do they thrive? Because that's really the question, right? Because that's the issue that we're all struggling with, right? Is how do we thrive in that market, right? So there you go. That's the question, man. I mean, that's the toughie. So Randy, you're the bottom square. You start first.
Oh, you want me to? Well, Mr. Cynical here. All right. How do you make $1 million in comics?
Oh,
no. $1 billion.
No, never mind. You start with $10 million. Anyway, what we've done here at Arrow, we've gone in and out of the direct market a number of times. We're looking at getting back in. We're going in very slowly. We got approached, and the folks like the type of products that we're doing. They asked us to throw together a business plan and to present it to them, to Diamond, and to see where it goes. The Lunar is in over their head because they're the second choice from Diamond, and they got barraged by all the secondary publishers begging for them to distribute them, and they just kind of shut their doors and said, look, we're not going to look at anybody's stuff for a while. So that at least that's the way I understand it. My involvement with Diamond is very similar to Marcus's thinking. You want to stay holistic, and that means staying sane and healthy. And I pulled out about 2003 from the last version of Arrow Comics because I realized they were doing nothing but hindering my business. And you go through and you add up all the figures, and Diamond's making more money than what you're pulling down on a book. There's a problem. So after being told a number of times what books we can and cannot print, what books Diamond was and was not going to distribute, no matter the quality of the books, no matter our explanations as to why they were getting ready to surpass or their ever-growing minimums, which was a big problem for me back then, we just threw our hands up and stopped. But we're back in it again, kind of thanks to crowdfunding and the outside market, and the fact that we've got some really, really nice products out there we think everybody should take a look at. And we think the retailers could really, with the right amount of exposure, maybe the retailers can make some money off of us at the same time.
When is the next volume of Spank the Monkey coming, Randy? This is what we all want to know.
Too long. I've got a bucket list and other things to keep bringing up.
Randy.
And I'm working on JD seen how far I've gotten. I'm like 40 pages into a revision of Spank the Monkey on the comic market, where he explains comics history through the eyes of Spank being a retailer and his buddies being other different types of customers as he goes through comics history and explains things. Hopefully that'll be out soon. Then after that, I want to do Spank the Monkey at the casinos and then Spank the Monkey on reality. So we'll see. Hopefully soon we'll get some more of that monkey business out there.
All right, Marvin, what are your thoughts?
So I'm going to come with the barrage.
Go for it.
Because of my involvement with Comics Pro and the things that I'm hearing, the things that I'm seeing. As far as Lunar shut down last year when they got imaged. They were pretty much in the point of we're not even going to entertain anyone after they got imaged because it was so difficult for them to bring that on board. But as far as the retail market, I mean, it's always going to be difficult because at most time, like after talking to Demetrius yesterday, I mean, are we approaching it from the wrong angle? are we going after the retail stores when we should be going after the people who are going into the stores to buy the stuff? Because they're going to spend more time listening to that person that's coming in to buy the stuff more than they're going to listen to us.
Right.
So our purpose should be to find our customer base, no matter where they are. Yes.
Yeah, when you were passed out, he said that.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, seriously. We had a whole conversation.
It's attack it from a different front. So this is where your local other places that don't sell comics need you to walk into. So coffee shops, wrestling events, because you have crossover audience. Anywhere anyone is reading is where you should be taking your product to and letting them know where they can get it from. So you can get it from me, or you can go to the comic shop. You want to try to push them more to that comic shop because you want to create that relationship. But now with different processes coming into play. So you're going to have ICV2, you're going to have Comic Hub in that mix now with Diamond and Lunar, which is going to take a lot of the onus off of you, because now those percentages are going to drop. So you'll be able to set your price. You'll be able to see who's buying your product. You'll be able to market directly to both the store and the people that are buying those books. So, I don't even want to say that they're going to eat Diamond's lunch, but I think Diamond needs to make some shifts in their processes to capture that before it happens. They were really slow to get their previews world up because they didn't shift into doing orders through stores until Comic Hub was active. So you waited until someone did it, and then you came behind them. And I don't know how many people are using that. Like, there's multiple different ways to order books to stores. You got Managed Comics, you got Comic Logic, you got League of Comic Geeks, you got Comic Hub, now you got Diamond. So there's a bunch of different processes in that place where you as a publisher can reach your customer base through those products. So I think it's more of a not just changing, but shifting into who you're talking to before you even talk to a store. Saying, I'm sending you 15 people to want to order my book. I'm sending you 20 people who want to order my book. So that's where your communication started. And that's how it started with us. When before we were in Diamond, we had direct sales with stores, and it was more about who I'm bringing to you instead of what I'm trying to put into your store.
All right, cool. Ben.
Yes.
What are your thoughts, sir?
Well, we're seeing the direct market grow and change, and it's now evolving to something different. The fact of the matter is that we're all here as creators and businessmen, trying to make our products, trying to be successful with what we're doing. And it's difficult, in this climate, this definitely. Now, as far as Lunar and Diamond and, what's about Penguin, is that, no, Random House, is that Marvel?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's Marvel.
I don't know much about Lunar. I don't know much about Random House. Lunar carries DC, Random House carries Marvel. And my feeling is that they don't really care. They don't really care about the comics, and they're just there, because that's who they're distributing. A Diamond is in a precarious situation, certainly, but Diamond's pretty tenacious. Steve Geppi is not a stupid businessman. He probably saw the writing on the wall. His biggest mistake was that he suspended payment to publishers during the lockdown. That was probably his biggest mistake he made. And that panicked a lot of publishers because they rely on that revenue stream to stay in business, no matter even if we're in a lockdown or not. And for us, as far as that Dark Crystal goes, it's all about revenue stream. The direct market is what we consider one of our revenue streams. Crowdfunding is another. Direct sales is another. Digital sales is another. So the more revenue streams you have, the better your chance of survivability as a company. My biggest problem for us over the years has been that comic retailers just don't take us seriously. We're a small publisher. We're not, a huge market. We try to stay. We're sort of like a timid little. We put out our books. We try to get them out on time. We try to act like a real publishers in order to get our books out. Because one of the things that retailers do appreciate is that you put out your books on time, and that are of sufficient quality that they can actually sell the book to somebody, you know. And so my feeling is that Diamond will be around for a while. They're not going to go away anytime soon. You know, there's just enough comic book stores out there to keep them in business. Now, if there were to, there would be a sudden huge influx of closures of comic book stores, then that might not be the situation. You know, I don't know how many comic stores are currently out there. I mean, my brother probably know. He runs the day-to-day operation. You know, I'm thinking just like what 2,000, 2,500 comic stores.
Yeah, you're within 2,500 and 2,000 shops.
Yeah, so I mean, it used to be what, like 7,000 or 8,000 comic stores, you know, and those were great days.
There were 10,000 in the 90s.
Yeah, I know those were heady days, my friend. Those are heady days. But you know, the thing is we have to work. I think the problem is we're fractured. We have so many different, you know, so many different ways people want to do things that we're not united. I think if we could come together and make people aware that comics still exist, you know, and there could be people want to be entertained. And this is a nice, cheap way to be entertained. I mean, you go to a movie, what do you spend $50 for a night out for two people, you know, and you come out of it and you don't own anything, you know. And but at least you go to a comic store, you'll be entertained. You pick up a comic and you own it for life. You know, you can keep it, hand it down, do whatever you want. Maybe it'll even go up in value. You know, so it's one of those things that we need to make people aware. The comic store's still around. Comics is your best form of value entertainment. You know, and try to coddle the next generation of comic readers.
Yeah,
you know, I think that's where we're also lacking. We're catering to collectors and not to the next generation of readers.
Great. Right, and that's why I mentioned the wrestling thing, because they seem to be very readily able to refresh their audience.
Oh, wrestling is a big, huge industry, though.
Yeah, right. But there's crossover there, because to me, I say that wrestlers are superheroes. So we have that crossover with that. And we're actually putting wrestlers into my comic. So, I mean, I'm going to cross those barriers and see what happens.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, comics do sell. I mean, look at Dog Band. I mean, they sell millions of copies. I mean, look at what other big, huge, your Captain Underpants. I mean, comics sell. You know, it's just what are we doing in the direct market as a small publisher to try to cater to, you know, I think Scholastic's of course a big fish, so of course they're make, you know,
they're not just in comic shops, right? They're in libraries, they're in school libraries, they're in public libraries, right? They're in big market bookstores, right? They're at the books aisle in Target and Walmart. So they have that accessibility that
why aren't I don't know if this is even feasible, but why aren't distributors aiming at schools and libraries and, you know, things like that? I don't know how.
Well, that was a topic of conversation at the Comics Pro this year, and there's Shannon Lav from Bat City in Florida is leading the charge on that. She does a lot with libraries, with hospitals, and other venues where she's bringing in younger people in to teach them how to make comics. So she actually just did one this past weekend. They did a comic creation seminar, and they bought school-age children in to do comics. So I mean, it's there. People just have to embrace it, and that was one of the things they were talking about, is how do we refresh our audience, and you have to be able to go where they are.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. There is an audience for it. I mean, like you said, you know, people, kids are reading. You know, they're reading comics, they're reading manga. You know, that's for sure. You know, so there is a audience out there for it. It's just how do we tap into that?
Right. As of 2023, there are over 9,000 public libraries in the United States. And how many comic shops did we talk about there was?
Like
20,000 and
2025. Right. So one of the biggest problems is we don't know how many shops there are currently in business.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge,
Well,
man.
We don't
Well,
know
that's
any of the
because
numbers
Diamond for the
anymore.
last 40 years hasn't given anyone any information
Right,
of
but
any
it's not
kind.
just Diamond anymore, right?
No,
It's
but we're
also-
only Diamond, but that was
Yep.
it. See, this is
Yep.
the problem, right?
Yep.
It's yes, there's more alternatives, but Diamond had such a stranglehold on everything for 40
Mhm.
freaking years,
Right.
and
Right.
did precisely zero to advertise the product, just like you were talking about. Why aren't we in libraries? Why aren't we selling here, there, whatever? Diamond did nothing,
Right.
because they didn't need to do anything. We were in the boom, and
were
everybody
the
was
big
happy.
fish.
We were selling a lot of books, and like, well, we don't need to sell over here. We don't need. And then when things started to kind of go sideways, there still was no reaction.
Right.
Of
And-
hey, we
and
have a
look at-
problem.
Look
How
what
do we
happened
solve this?
to the taxi and limousine commissions across the United States
Yeah.
when ride sharing started to take
Yeah,
a bite out of their
exactly.
lunch.
This is something that I've said for years. Is like I've always talked about, like, why doesn't Marvel and DC promote their product? But ultimately, why isn't Diamond or whatever distributor sitting here going, look at what we have, guys? Whether it's Diamond saying we have all this stuff, or whether it's Lunar saying we have all this stuff, why aren't the distributors doing anything besides saying, where are the comic book stores, and let me keep doing the same system again and again and again? It's a distribution problem to me, first and foremost. And then from there, it's the higher ups rarely do anything because they don't want the trickle down. Marvel doesn't want to make advertising because that'll send people in and they might see DC books, vice versa. Those two don't want to advertise because might come in and they might see Image books and buy Image books. It's this horrendous ego element that I see anyway, that no one wants to talk about the industry, because if they do, someone might walk into a comic book store and buy a Zenoscope book instead of their own. And that's where we have this weird disconnect with all of these companies. No one works to work together because everyone thinks that we're all stealing from everybody else's pie.
Oh, and that's what Ben was talking about is unification. And I mean, hopefully next year we can help change that. But in most cases, if you're not willing to check your ego at the door, you're going to have problems with everybody else.
Yeah.
Like no one can be forgive me, Tom, no one can be the big dog.
Oh, somebody can.
Right,
That's
so
right there.
Let me
Forgive
tack on to Tom though for a second, okay? What if it's forget about Diamond doing the advertising in Comics Pro? Have they talked about the collective of comic book shops coming together, like the Milk Association of America or the Cranberry Association of America, right? Putting into a group fund to promote the business.
That's
Yeah.
I mean that's where we're going to have to come and play on that, because as I said before, is that their new president, Joe Murray, is that guy who wants to listen. Like he kind of, when they were done with the show, he pretty much outright said that the best conversation he had at that show was with Comicsburg.
Okay, great.
I would hazard a guess that if we were able to, as small press guys, even guys like Zenoscope, Aspen, smaller dudes like that, Scout or whatever, if we were able to put ourselves together and create a Got Milk campaign, like Got Comics, and it was all us, and we didn't talk about Marvel and DC and Image and all that kind of stuff, and we did it right and it was done properly, those guys would pay attention. Marvel and DC would be like, what the hell is going on right now? Image would be like, what the hell is going on right now? And that could be enough to really spark something larger scale, but it would take something really ground level, groundswell sort of aspect of all of us kind of going, let's figure out how to make Got Comics, and we see Comicsburg's characters, and we see Big Dog Inc. characters.
I had an idea about that
with the free comic book. I mean, I don't know if you participate in that promotion, but I talked to my brother, also is part owner of a comic book store, and he says when Free Comic Book Day comes around, I mean, they're mobbed. There are people just swarm comic book stores on Free Comic Book Day. So at least we know if we gave comics away for free, people would come. But but the thing is that's sort of a little bit big promotion. It's just that it's not nationally advertised,
right?
The extent that even to make even more people aware of it.
Yeah, and we were talking about on JD's show last night. JD was talking about his newspaper, kind of like a comic shop news thing that he wanted to do. And again, we were talking to a retailer, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, if it's free, people are going to take this stuff, and especially if it's free to a retailer, because just like with Free Comic Book Day, right? It's free to the consumer. It's not free to the stores. Stores are still paying for all those books. They're paying, like a quarter or whatever, but that stuff adds up. Goes a long way.
It's
So
point of sale elements, right? It's the leaflets and things like that we don't see anymore.
Well, Demetrio said point of sale elements don't work.
He did.
Yeah. You see, if you were there, if you were actually there, you would have heard him say that.
Well, I mean, but that depends on the shop too, because in other shops it does work. So I mean, I think that in that kind of instance, it'd be a good idea to get as many retailers together next June and figure out what does and doesn't work in each realm. Because
you're going to have differences from shop to shop, from state to state. I mean, there's just going to be variations in your customer base.
Shops in the same city that are down the street from each other could have different ways on how those things work.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. But if we at all, the bottom line here, I think, is that we have to figure out a way to actually market that comics exist. I've said this for a long time. Most people don't know that comic books exist, or if they do think they exist, and I've had this experience as I've gone around to cons all over the place. I'll go into like a restaurant, right, and I'll have having dinner, and I'll have my badge on, and they'll ask me, like the waitress will be like, "Oh, are you going to the con?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm like a vendor. I sell my comics." And more often than not, I'd be like, "Oh, that's really cool. The comics sound really fun, but I don't know how to get into them." You just buy a comic; they're super easy. And she was not just she, but over and over again, I would get responses like, "Oh, it's just too expensive. It's all collectible stuff." And I'm like, "No, I mean, it's, maybe it's like $5 for a book." And they were like, "Oh no, I've heard they were like hundreds of dollars." I'm like, "Yeah, that's like the collector side of things, that part exists. But if you just want to like read comics, they make big trade paperbacks for like $15 and you can read all kinds of content." And it blew her mind that, that comics existed in these other formats, like trade paperbacks, collected editions, and so on. And it wasn't just purely I'm buying Hulk 181, and that's what the general populace believes comics are. And so we have to change the mindset of that. And I mean, I don't have a direct answer to that, but just some of the things that we've talked about here, we have to be able to get the industry as a whole to talk about how the industry exists in different forms. Comic cons are a great place to do that, but those people, probably 75%, they already know all of this information. So
literally
you might be
preaching to the choir.
Yeah, exactly. So you might be kicking some new people without any question at a Comic-Con. Yeah. But if you can get yourself talking to different groups of people, like has been talked here before, to understand that comics aren't just, hey, everything's $100 and collectible. It's no, this is reading material. Like, look, here's a trade paperback. Like this is very easy. You have to change the perception a little bit in the mind of the consumer to kind of, I think, take the next step in, expanding the eyeballs on us. It's not just a matter of, hey, comics are here. It's like, here's how comics are here, and here's where you can get them, whether it's crowdfunding, comic store, Comic-Con, whatever. I've been really surprised as I've talked to people, how many people are really already understand crowdfunding. That's been kind of a shock to me, because I kind of assumed every time I would talk to people, I'd be like, yeah, we kind of do Kickstarter. Like, do you know what that is? And they're like, oh yeah, I do Kickstarter all the time. I'm like, whoa, that is sweeping comic books right now.
Yeah, because a few years ago, that was not the case. People would be like, what the hell's Kickstarter?
That's
like,
right. Yeah.
Like, still to this day. Yeah.
So crowdfunding is great. It's fantastic. And I've even said, like, Kickstarter as a brand needs to be appearing at Comic-Cons. Like, they need to be doing what Whatnot is doing. They need to be out and touring and being like, look, this is what we do, and then bringing some of their big guys along with them, not just comics people, but movies and music and whatever else, like who some of their top dudes are, just be like, hey, look, this is what these guys are doing with our brand, and come see it.
eBay is now setting up on the sales floor.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But I mean, it's hard for I think it's hard for Kickstarter to do that, because they keep changing their team continuously too.
Well, then fix that shit, Marvin.
Exactly. There's a reason why, like, every year Diamond has a new person that's running their brand. There's a difference. There's a reason why, because their ideas aren't filtering. And like, one person had the idea of doing the publisher store thing, and that person's gone now. So they had all these ideas and like, oh, we're going to do this, and that person's gone. So what's going on there? That they bring people in to fix their problems. They try to fix it, and then they tell them to beat it.
Yeah, I mean, you always are going to run into that corporate problem, right? I mean, even with corporate comics, it's like guys may come in with great ideas for whatever, Marvel or whatever, but it still has to go up a chain to some degree. For that has to be approved before it can come back down. So there is that.
Not just that, but the problem with Kickstarter is the same problem with Marvel and the same problem with DC. The actual printing, making comics, the actual money they pull in from the comic industry is so minuscule to them, they don't care. They don't have any respect for the art form. They're looking at their bottom line, how much money's coming in here, and what kind of a return they're going to get if they go out and invest. eBay, on the other hand, pulls down a percentage of all of those auction sales, and that's a lot of money for them.
Sure, but Kickstarter,
so they're going to set up at a show.
Yeah, but
Kickstarter ain't going to show it.
But I'm not saying Kickstarter needs to come out and be like, "Hey, comics!" Like they need to bring just everything. Like they need to explain that that Kickstarter is a thing for everyone at every type of thing.
Just like with the corporate comics, though, they have to get people up there that actually know the business and care about the business.
No,
and they can't find that to save their life.
Hello. Hire me.
No, we're all here.
Hire me.
They don't see us.
Whoever's hire me. I'll fix all of your problems. Kickstarter. Yeah. Hire me.
I feel the same way.
But they had the job listing up. Did you apply?
No, because they had restrictions on it, and I was in one of the states that they weren't looking for people from.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So the answer is yes.
I looked at it. Get the right market, right college paper in order to be looked at.
I applied. But I mean, to tag on what Tom said earlier, it takes somebody else to do it before they motivate and start to change their mind and think they're going to do it.
Well, they got to realize there's money.
About eBay, right? Yeah. eBay didn't show up at New York Comic Con until Whatnot was there for 2 years in a row, and they were like, "Oh, maybe we need to have a presence there."
Well, and because of Whatnot, eBay is now beta testing their eBay Live.
Mm-hmm. So remember when Kickstarter used to have Kickstarter Live?
Hold on.
Well, Kickstarter used to do live video, but I'm talking about eBay is doing live auctions. It'll be It'll be like what Whatnot does, but on the eBay platform.
So, Marcus, let's continue going through the circles. Everybody, you're going all over the place. Marcus, what are your thoughts?
It's one thing I have a lot of thoughts about. I know we all come from different backgrounds, and I'm a publisher, editor, and everything now, but what pays the bills is my day job, and my day job is I'm a e-commerce retail analyst. So my entire day usually revolves figuring out sales, looking at analytics, changing businesses and our practices based on where market trends are going, and being ahead of the curve before that thing shows up. My main source is Amazon. We're active with like a number of people for the company that I work with. All e-commerce channels go through me, and I do everything from purchasing in China to distribution to you go on Amazon. I'm helping pull the packing list and send them to the warehouses to get down. So I know the chain front to back, inside and out, 100%. Even when Amazon themselves are doing things, this is an important thing that things like Kickstarter and other distributors and things like that need to take note of. Amazon's big, huge, crazy corporation, and they can seem nebulous and evil in a lot of ways. And in some ways they are. In a lot of ways they are. But at the same time, when Amazon wants to figure out something with how their supply chain is going and what they can do to improve, they come to me. I'll talk to them. I have a meeting with Amazon about it. They are invested from the ground up, and we're not a huge company or anything like that. We're a very minuscule part. Like, it's not a dollars thing. They're looking at who's engaging with the platform and who's using the thing. And they see that, this guy, Marcus McNeal, he's using this certain aspect all the fucking time. Let's talk to him and get his word on something. Someone like Kickstarter should be saying, someone like Brian Paluto is doing X amount every time he drops something, or he's engaging with the platform multiple times, a month. Let's have a meeting with Brian Paluto and talk to. Let's talk to Pat Shan. Let's talk to, even if it's on a smaller scale, let's talk to JD Calderon. Let's talk to Odyssey Comics. Let's talk to Big Dog Inc. and see what we can do as a platform to help where they're going. even if you're not going to cons and doing this whole big thing, there's an approach you have to take to doing the business that you can then see it grow. And you make those improvements, you make it easier, get more people on the platform, you make more money, you build the engagement. So it's a two-pronged thing for me, because I see where the business of comics and comics distribution is utterly stupid. It's really fucking dumb, period.
Of course.
Like, compared to how
From the
everything
ground
else,
up, it doesn't
Yeah.
operate as a regular business. Correct.
Nope, how everything else is structured and what it takes is very different. But also work with Amazon so much. I know how they operate as a platform, what Amazon does, not just to have things there, but how they feature listings, how they give people tools to be able to do things when you don't have a ton of money, when you are small, be able to advertise your listings, educate you on running those promotions. There's so many things that when you're in that ecosystem, you can spend 40 hours a week for probably 3 months straight going through all the training that they have available to everybody that's part of that vendor base, everything like that. So part of the reason why they've grown so big and they have this impact that they do is because the approach that they have with helping their vendors be able to be successful. There's stupid stuff that goes on. They don't do enough to help out sellers against, counterfeiters and these other companies and stuff like that. All that really fucking sucks. And it's a pain in the ass, like, every week for me. It really is. But at the core, getting in there, that's what we need. And I think really as we go through and what we're starting to see is the mindset change, especially with Kickstarter being so prominent, is going into this very sort of e-coms marketplace sort of philosophy. I think if we could do that and we can import some of that, which I'm accustomed to, into the comic book space, like, I think if we replicate some things like that and you have a platform where publishers can come in, they could apply to be on the platform, what books, what catalog they'll be offering, put things up, have no minimums for retailers and shops and things like that to go on to. Maybe you do 3 or 4 periods a year because the Indie's release schedule is a little bit slower. You don't need to have it open and available all the time. Hey, come in. If your shop buys 5 books, they buy 5 books. We ship the 5 books. You centralize whatever you need to do. It's going to be one of those things that some people are going to get their feelings of. You can't do it for everybody. It's just impossible. Nobody's going to have the resources to be able to do it. It would cost millions of dollars to be able to have those operations like that. But if it's curated, if it's focused, you have it at this sort of grassroots level. You also bring the people in, the publishers and the creators that you're working with. You go to shops, you do your best to try to do whatever events that you can organize on the scale that you're doing it, and just see what it does. I mean, if you're smart about it, there's no way that you can be upside down. All the costs be taken care of. If someone can do it and manage it, it should be good situation. Like, I think I saw someone mention that 20% that company should be taken off top. Make sure that the creators and the publishers can make a dime off on their books first and foremost. That's really important. And then I think a lot of what Tom and everyone was talking to, really having that educational aspect of indie comics is the core question for any product, anything that you're selling is, why the fuck should people care? And what a lot of people don't want to mention and don't want to talk about is that the vast majority of comic readers and people who go to shops and buy comics, they don't give a fuck about indie comics. They don't. They give a fuck about big IPs. They're going in to buy Spider-Man. They're going in to buy Batman, all of that. They need to understand what is happening in comics and what indie comics are doing, the trajectory that they're on, that can build that sort of engagement and that interest to even make something doing things on a grander scheme viable. So
yeah, it's near impossible to
I disagree with
transition
that a little bit. I disagree with that a little bit. I think a lot of people who go to comic used to, at least in back then, at least when I was going to comic book stores, I would see all the comics on the stands, and if there was a comic that looked interesting, my ability to pick it up and flip through it was there. Okay, you don't have that in the digital marketplace. You can't pick up a comic and flip through it in the digital realm. Unless you have the whole book laid out in front of you, or some sample pages, and I think that yes, there's what happens is that Marvel and DC got the regulars in because they were reliable. They came out with comics every month. You knew that they were going to come out, and they had a reputation of characters that they liked. But at the same time, those same people may browse the comic stand and they see an indie comic, I mean, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, by all means, that book should have flopped. That should have been a massive, massive failure. It was black and white. It was a magazine size. I mean, and it was a weird name, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Okay, but it didn't. It was a huge success. So there can be success in the marketplace if you have the product that people are interested in. You know, I think that to say that, you know, that the vast majority of the maybe so, the vast majority of the public may not care about indie comics, but all you need is just enough people to care about indie comics.
I think it's more than enough people. I think it's also goes back to the retail side of things, because if we understand that the customers are walking in to get Spider-Man, if that's the understanding, and right next to Spider-Man is Critter, right? We require the retailer to then say, hey, you know what? If you like Spider-Man, you might like this Critter book, because the guy that's buying the Spider-Man book might not even bother to look. A lot of guys just walk in, take their pull list, and go home. They don't even look at the rack anymore, because now we're at a pull list world rather than, you know, everything's out there and you grab it.
That's not new. That's been happening since about 2000 or so. That's what we figured out.
That's what I'm saying.
First time through with Arrow Comics is the retailers weren't buying us to put us on the shelves. They were buying us directly for their pull lists, and that's all they were buying. And we had a lot of retailers coming at us going, hey, I ordered 5 books and I only got 3. What's the problem? And we're like, well, we're fulfilling Diamond's purchase orders as we get them in, right down to the number. It's not our problem. I mean, it is our problem, but we're following the system where we figured out that Diamond was showing preference to different retailers. If we had a great book and this guy who's got 5 shops wants 2 extra copies, he got those 2 extra copies.
Yeah.
And the guy at the bottom of the list didn't get them.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they wondered, why are you shorting Diamond?
That comes down, though, to the retailer. The retailer needs to know who's coming into their store. Are the customers coming in? Which are the customers coming in for an experience? And then which are the customers coming in just to get their stuff and go?
Well,
right?
You've got a lot of retailers that are hand to mouth right now, and they'd rather put a Funko Pop in their store than to try an indie book on the shelf and hope that it moves.
Yeah. So now you got to find a way to get the retailer, though, to understand that we are that product. Like when you go into Rite Aid, right? You go into the pharmacy, you've got your big product, and then you got generic. Well, let's just use indie as generic for a second, right? Like Tom was talking about. How do you get them positioned on the shelf next to those main titles? How do you get the store to be set up, for argument's sake, like Blockbuster by genre instead of by pure alphabet or by, you know, Marvel, DC, indie? I mean, you're not creating an experience for those customers who are walking into the store looking for something else to shop for.
That came up. That was another subject at Comics Pro on how people were setting up their books, and a lot of them said they put their indie books up front and make people walk past them to get to the Marvel.
That's great. Yeah. That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, but again, that goes back. This is what I'm talking about. It's the retailers. We've talked about this before. If there's 2,500 retailers, there's still only about 500 of those retailers that are buying indie books in any real numbers. That's minuscule. That's minuscule.
Yep.
And so again, it's a matter of we need retailers to know how to market what we do. Whoever's carrying us, we need to market, but we need the other 2,000 stores to give us a sniff. And they don't want to, because like what Randy just said, it's really tough right now. And they know that they could buy a couple of extra, variant Spider-Mans versus 5 copies of Critter. And they're probably going to sell their 2 Spider-Mans on day one versus the challenge of selling a new book. So, and we have to understand that. We have to understand that is a challenge to sell something new, a brand new IP, a brand new company. All of these things are very difficult to sell to a retailer, to then a customer. And so going back to the question that JD posed, like, how do we get into the market? How do we thrive? Getting in isn't super hard because there's plenty of publishers that will look at what you do. And if you are sort of what they do, they'll probably make you some sort of an offer. Hey, you kind of fit in with our genres and whatever. Let's see what you've got. You have this book finished, especially now with crowdfunding, because people are coming in with completed series. Like, hey, I've got 6 issues. It's done. Like, let me hand it to you and you guys can do it. And so if it fits with what that publisher does, a lot of times they're going to take it. But the thriving side, this is where it gets difficult, because there isn't really a way, to me, that I've seen, and I've had a unique retail experience here. I haven't really seen a way to thrive through any of it. And we did Big Dog Inc. on our own for 4 years when we started. We had a very good experience. We were in the Diamond Top 300 multiple times with multiple books, on and on and on. But at no point during those even high point sales were we not still chasing money, because of the money it took to produce the book, to print the book, send it to them, and then Diamond sends us back our piece of it. We were still having to chase money. And that's where a lot of these variants came in, because a lot of companies started to realize, we're making this print run and we're not making much money. What if we added a few covers in and then we could make a little extra money? Yeah, exactly. So, and then, so a lot of us, like myself, Zenoscope and so on, we were doing a lot of convention variants. That's how we were kind of chasing the money back and making a little profit. But then that filtered into, why don't we make variants for the retail market and, up price points in some cases, just see what we can do with it. And that's kind of where all of that went. But even with all of that, thriving in the retail market isn't really a thing. And people really have to understand that. We've talked about it. Everybody in here has talked about it in one way, shape, or form. The retail market is more of a marketing element for you, because it puts eyeballs on what you're doing, particularly if you're with some sort of a company that has some standing in Arctic Press, Scout Comics, whoever, because they have some sort of standing in the community already. So if you're suddenly with AP, the AP followers are like, oh, look, here's a new thing from AP. This is cool. So, but again, you can't expect thriving in this market, barring you having a license of some kind. You want to go license Terminator and make Terminator comics? Cool, go do it. But if you're just coming in with XYZ idea from XYZ company and saying XYZ retailer, take it, it's going to be a struggle.
All right. We need to hold on, Marvin. I know we're all getting a little excited, so we're going to talk. We're all on the edge. So tell us about your paperback.
That's a transition, Jay.
Whoop, whoop. So yeah, this is
look at the answer, God damn it.
That's going to be the volume 2 trade. So it's issues 5 through 9. The current plan is to launch in the Monday after Three Rivers Con in June. So that should be the June 3rd.
All right, cool. And your this is your sign up page, and you said it's going up. When is this going up?
Should be June 3rd.
June 3rd. Okay, so sign up now. Get in there. Go buy this book. It's going to be awesome.
Nice.
It's always awesome.
And you'll have volume 1 available as well?
Yes.
There you go.
All right.
And singles, if people want singles. So singles will be in there too.
Okay. Now let's move on. We got some bikinis. Ben,
Bikinis.
do you want me to play this video?
You don't have to. It can be kind of a little. We want to. That'd be fine by me.
Play it. He worked on it. Damn it. Play
There
it.
you go. Yeah.
Run it.
Oh, I like that. I like that. That looks cool.
Cindy, Candy, Princess Demona and Dr. Boomer sent the extinctables to attack our Clamorama Clam Shack.
Okay, Sonia. Tonight, you, me, and Candy will sneak into the Boomerland amusement park. We'll spy on them. What? We'll have to be careful and look out for any Dominions or zombie hippies.
All right, my new tug drone is ready to go. And Dr. Mohan can launch D-Robo if any giant monsters show up.
Princess Demona and I could succeed at this world for these meddling teenagers.
The world can be saved by steam. Go, G-Rangers.
Boomerland. Ben, you didn't tell me about Boomerland. I'm all in on Boomerland.
Well, thank you.
I love that.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a surprise.
Fantastic.
Nice. All right, cool. So Ben, walk us through it. What are we looking at?
Well, it's basically, I'm a big fan of the Sentai superheroes type shows, the Power Rangers. And I also happen to be a big fan of blank beach movies. So I said, what if I mix the two together? And this is what I came up with.
All right, cool. Very nice. It says you got 4 hours left, so everybody act quickly. Like I said, the link is in the show notes, so go get this book. This looks really awesome.
Pretty. Yeah.
I like fun comics.
Very nice. Very nice. All right, cool. So Ben, like, how does this work into your publishing scheme these days? Like, are you just starting to do Kickstarters first and then printing second, or are you printing first and then doing trades? How's that working out?
It's working out pretty well. We Another Press does his own thing. I do my own thing. We sort of have an understanding that I'm allowed to do whatever I want to do on crowdfunding, and they do what they want to do on crowdfunding. And like I said, it's just to us, it's just a revenue stream, that we can rely on to basically stay in business, And this is this is my main source of income, to be honest. What I do on crowdfunding is basically. I'm not sure how it is for the rest of you guys, but for me, this is the things that I have to do in order to keep going and continue doing other projects in the future. Otherwise, I'd have to get a real job.
Yeah, if you can avoid it. That's all I
At
can
all
say.
costs.
Yeah, but then you're gonna crowdfund that, right? But then you're gonna take it to AP and be like, okay, now put it out through AP too.
That's one of the advantages that I have, is that I can take it to AP and they pretty much just rubber stamp it, to send it to direct market. That's the same way with you, Tom. We brought us with the Critter and Catnip. We really liked what we saw, and you had already done the crowdfunding deal, so you made all your money back on that. So basically, anything that we take and give to you is just gravy. It's stuff that you get because it's work you've already done, and that's the thing, is that
passive income is a beautiful thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even just passive eyeballs. To be honest, we just ran a Critter comic, right, or Critter crowdfunding in January. It did far beyond what I expected. And the only thing that was different from what I normally do from all of my other crowdfunding campaigns, the only thing that was different that I could conceive of, that why we got that extra pop, was because AP was talking about the book, because they're now publishing the old Critter books through retail. It's the only bonus factor. And I have a sense that potentially that extra interest sent people to us because AP was talking about, hey, we're printing Critter. And it just opened up the eyeballs to new people.
Yeah, you shouldn't undervalue also just word of mouth.
Yeah.
When retailers see it, they talk to their customers about it. It's that's of interest to them. And like you said, when retailers are involved with their customers, then they get their customers interested in new product.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, now talk about a fantastic project. Randy, do you want me to play this video?
Oh, yeah, you can play it. Absolutely. Thanks for saying it's fantastic.
In the time before Atlantis sank and the lands of the world were savage and untamed, one man would claim his destiny. Leaving his Atlantean tribe behind and throwing off the shackles of Lemurian bondage, he sailed the seas as a pirate captain before seizing his place as a king. Now that he has the throne, how long will he be able to keep it? This is the Shadow Kingdom. Classic sword and sorcery tale by Robert E. Howard, adapted by Randy Zimmerman, with artwork by Russ Leach. Available now at funmycomic.com.
Very nice.
A lot of fun to do. Real proud of the product. It's the story. It's the Shadow Kingdom. If you've seen it only in comics, you haven't read the actual story. This is the actual story. And in fact, we're putting the prose story in behind the comic story just so you can compare the two.
How is just out of curiosity, how's Crowd by Fun My Comic been for you guys?
We're doing okay with it. Luke started it less than a year ago, I think, maybe almost a year ago, and it's been picking up steam real well.
Do you think it's a good alternative from Kickstarter?
Well, considering I have never done a Kickstarter campaign, I have done an Indiegogo campaign, and Fund My Comics like night and day. I like it because you go there, the name of the site's direct, fundmycomic.com. And there's all sorts of comic game products or genre products there. You're not having to worry about competing against everybody's electronic doohickey or not having the care given to you equally. Everybody if you go to Fund My Comic, the campaigns on the front page are the campaigns that people are buying into.
So why don't you just do both?
You can do both. Absolutely. We just decided to promote Fund My Comic the same time as we're doing Shadow Kingdom for right now.
See.
They don't stop people from going. The percentages at Fund My Comic are a lot better than at the other platforms. I think it's like 3% straight across the board.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
But it was really started by Luke Stone, who does Hybrids. Hybrids is under the Arrow banner. And we saw the problems that we were getting from the other platforms. Luke wanted to do his own, and there were a few other people out there that were doing crowdfunding at their own site directly. And instead of doing that, Luke was looking at doing it himself, and then decided, well, why don't we just make an open platform so that everybody can come up? Everybody gets a chance to look at. Anybody who's looking for great comics can just go to one place and have a look. And Russ, I don't know if you're familiar with Russ Leach. He's done work for Doctor Who. He's done work for Batman over in the European market, Ben 10 over there. I have him on my podcast twice a week. I podcast early mornings on Friday and early Sunday morning. And we got to talking about Howard and about doing Barbarian stuff. And he loves John Buscema. He had an open spot in his schedule. And he said, hey, why don't we adapt his story? So that's what we did.
Nice.
And it's direct. I tried to keep as much of Howard's prose in there, all of the story there as I could. Like I said, if you've read it in comics before, you've only read an adaptation. This is an exact I guess adaptation to that story specifically. So it takes place with Kull becoming king of Valusia, just as he's taken over the kingdom, and he finds out that there's a large conspiracy to take his throne by a race of shape-shifting lizard people. and if that sounds like a familiar trope to you, it's because it all started there. That's
hilarious.
It's recognized as the first American sword and sorcery story. It's the story that literally started Howard's career. And it's the beginning of all of those urban myths you ever heard about shape-shifting lizard people can all be tracked down right to this story.
That's funny. That is funny.
I mean, and the story is great. You get in there, and Kull, if you think you know Kull from Conan, that Kull's a completely different character. Kull was a lot more personal to Howard. He's a lot more introspective. He's examining, almost overthinking himself every step of the way. It's a great story with great, well-defined characters and just a lot of fun to read.
That's cool. So you got what? You're about halfway there, and you got
we're halfway there. We've still got 26 days. Yeah. But don't let that stop you from buying in. It's a great product. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a great book. I've already bought it. So.
And everything's done on it. I'm just working on a backup story. We have a front coming from a guy who's really heavy into Howard, named Razor Fist. He's doing the frontist piece talking about Howard and his life and how important this story is. And then I'm doing a thank you as you go out the door to thank everybody and to tell folks how important this book was to all of us who are involved.
Nice. Okay.
Nice.
Very cool. Looking forward to it.
You can see it's colored. It's colored intentionally, solid colors, made to look like a Silver Age book, made to have that feel. And it's just that page that you're on right now. He's thinking about all of the monsters in history and all of the legends that he's heard. And what do you mean my kingdom's being taken over by shape-shifting lizard people?
Right?
Nice.
I hate that.
Hate it. Yep. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's a great story. It's about 70 pages of comics. And then the prose in the back, there's some production artwork in the back. And with the front and the back pieces, it's going to be over 100 pages long.
Wow.
Wow.
God damn.
Okay, yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
All right.
And then we're hoping to do more with the characters. We'll see how the campaign goes. We have a bucket list anyway. That
Yeah.
also includes my monkey too. So we'll see how it goes.
I don't think you guys are gonna have a problem with it. It looks great.
No.
It's gonna do well. You know.
Yeah, we're real
And
confident in it. We love the product, and it looks really. I can't tell you how great it looks. It looks
No,
really good. Yeah.
It really does. It'll take you to other planets. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Kind of like
Almost.
this guy. Kind of like this Planet Pumpkin. Marcus.
There you go,
what-
Planet Pumpkin.
Was this one easier for you than Phantasmic, Jay?
Yeah, a little bit, bro. A little bit. A little bit.
Absolutely. So this one is Planet Pumpkin. This is the second new comic in this sort of like phase 2 of Odyssey that we're in. This one is a story by Saint with art by Robot Fish. He's just a fantastic artist. Has Rules of the Room over on Webtoons. I think everyone should check that out if they want to sort of get a feel for the vibe that we're going for with Planet Pumpkin. But it follows a young witch named Cranberry on a journey through a hostile galaxy where magic users are outlawed and punished with extreme prejudice. For fans of properties like Adventure Time, Steven Universe, who also like those things with a little bit of a mature edge too, this is really going to be the project for you. We were able to throw in a 10-page preview with Nobody's Princess 3. So our backers got that one as a freebie when they got their digital rewards. I've had a number of people follow up after that and been like, when is Planet Pumpkin coming out? When can we read more of this? So it's going to be pretty soon. I'm hoping that we can launch by 3/26. So coming very, very soon here. We're just waiting on a couple additional very, very special things that we're going to do reward-wise to shake through. And I want to be sure that we take the necessary amount of time and they'll just adhere to any sort of arbitrary release schedule and have those ready to go. Because we're doing, of course, typical variant covers. We got prints, merch, and we're also doing 4-inch figurines based on characters from the comics that we're going to have available too. So that's something I'm super excited about. Those who follow me on social media has already seen some of the early versions that we worked up. That's going to be super cool. So this is one of the projects I'm really excited about for the year. We've been working on it for a while, getting it down right. And I think personally, this has been some of my finest editorial and story editorial work that we've gone through. So I'm really excited and really proud of the way that it's coming out. So if people like that, like things a little bit more of a manga edge, you got like a little Dragon Ball thrown in there too. It's just it touches on so many moments, and just visually, it's a stunning book. It's like candy for the eyes, really.
Nice. So you said hopefully by the 26th?
Yeah, hopefully by the 26th. So we might just, if we're running a little bit, we're still working on some finer details with one of the figurines that we're doing. So if anything, we might just drop that mid-campaign or the week after this debut. So we have that available for everyone to check out. But other than that, we should be all set to go just about.
All right, cool. Looks awesome. Looking forward to it. Very nice. I'm gonna throw this up there real quick.
Wasn't me.
What was? No, it was me, of course. I'm almost there. Of course, it's my own damn project.
Almost there.
So here we go. The Oswald Chronicles. This is volume 4. So this is It Broke Free and Couldn't Read. There's a trade paperback. It's turning out to be 164 pages. It's 120 pages of original art and story by myself and Jade Gonzalez. Fantastic cover by Aurelio Tillis. It's a story of Oswald running across a warrior gnome who's half dead when he gets to his doorstep. And Oswald has to make a choice as to whether or not to help him battle the evil that he's been chasing around for the last 50 years. That's living just down the block from him and is living with this giant spider that Oswald is kind of afraid of. So he's just like, don't know. But we got 16 hours, 87 backers. We're doing all right. So like I said, if you got a little bit of time, go jump on it. So there you go. That's that one. And I'm going to throw this up. We got a second chance at Magi's Grace. There we go. So this will be launching this upcoming Friday. And there's a second chance by myself and C. Michael Lanning. I actually found a very nice review of it online, which is going to be in the it'll be in the body of the campaign, so everybody can read it. So if you have any questions as to whether or not you're going to like it or not, you can refer to the review, see if you like it. So it's should be cool. And C. Michael Lanning did this fantastic new cover for it. So, and we have another cover that's going to feature. It's a homage to La Blugo #3, which is the first professional comic that I ever wrote. So it's a little bit special to me. So
Nice.
there you go. And it was a porn book. Nice. Jay, you're up.
What do you want me to do? You want me to answer the last question, or you want me to ask a new one?
Yes.
Well, you talked so much on the last one. I didn't give a shit about your answers. I was just like,
here's the thing. We're talking about.
What were you going to add that would really be any relevance to that everybody else said?
I know. Fuck. I feel so unwanted. No, whatchamacallit? We were talking a lot about advertising. So if we're going to spend advertising dollars on our books collectively, do we spend it within the industry, or do we spend it outside of the industry trying to get people in?
Marvin.
Yeah. Well, but the way I was been thinking is that you need to capture new people. I mean, it's fine and good to cater to people who are already going into those shops, but you need to bring new people in there that are actually coming in there for your product and not are coming in there looking for the new Spider-Man 450. You want them to come in looking for your issue #1 that is still fresh and new, and not more concerned about where the 450 is at.
No,
I told you, man, I was going to string you. I was going to attack you.
No.
Make them go
This is
next.
going to be good. I can't wait.
Go for it. Go for it.
Well, Marvin's not wrong conceptually. No, I'm going right now, Jay. I'm going right now.
You're just going to step over Ben?
I'm going to step over Ben.
That's terrible, Tom.
Marvin's right. Conceptually, we want new people. However, if we're advertising Comicsburg and Big Dog Inc. and Antarctic Press to the general populace, it's going to go right over their heads. That's the problem, I think. So what we need to do, to me, is do both, but have a focus on making awareness within the comic book world. Because if we can create a bigger funnel, the awareness funnel for us within the comic book world, right? That's where we're going to get our hit. It's like the Ghost Machine guys at Image, right? They're not advertising at wrestling stores, wrestling matches and stuff. They're coming into the comic book world and going, here's these 8 guys and we're all going to make awesome shit. And here's how you get it. So to me, I think that's where we have to go. I mean, we do need an external comics are a thing advertising to the general world, but we can't get too hyper specific. We can't say comics are a thing because Big Dog Inc. exists, because people are like, I don't know what the hell that is. I don't care. So I think it has to be a 2-pronged thing. It has to be, but to me, it's got to be a focused comic book people. You need to pay attention to us, while then having sort of the side thing of saying, hey guys at the wrestling, you guys like comics, right? Like, come see us this way. But I think it needs to be sort of a tilted attack.
Right. But his question was either or. He didn't say you could do both.
Oh, well, then screw the general public, because they don't care anyway. If it's either or, you go hardcore to the comic book people, comic book retailers. You go heavy at Comic Cons and send, like you've said, send those people to comic book stores. If it's either or, you're better off sort of tingling the brains of the people that already are into the comic book world and they don't know who you are. Because they already know they go to a Comic-Con, they go to a comic book store. They have that sort of next step already built into them, generally speaking. So if you can sort of inflame their awareness of our brands versus Spider-Man or Batman or whatever, I think that'll take us upwards.
Right.
Ben, what are your thoughts?
I agree with Tom for the most part, but I think that I think
For the most part,
the approach should be that we should try to make it sort of a generational thing. The thing is that we're losing comic readers and not gaining new ones. I mean, the people who are reading comics now they're reading manga. And while I fully support anybody reading. To be sure. I think that if we want to get people back into reading American comics, the comics we produce, it's important that we have to show that we're producing good product that they will enjoy, the product that they can pass, down to their kids, products that they can hold on to, and look back upon and say, wow, I remember that comic. I really liked it. And I want to share it with somebody else.
But let me ask you, Ben, do you think that should, again, we're talking about like where to focus a marketing push. Would that marketing push not work better pushing it towards, like, let's say people that are our age that have kids, because then they would trickle it down to their kids versus trying to attack kids at somewhere else. Well, that's what it's all hope. Everything is hope. Even if you market to a wrestling guys, you're hoping they'll come and interact with your stuff.
Well, you have to ask yourself a fundamental question. What is the purpose of a comic? Okay, when comics were first introduced, they were cheap, disposable income. I mean, to entertainment. It was cheap, disposable entertainment. The entry point was very low. You could, for a dime, you got a 64-page comic. Okay, back in the 1930s and 40s. Okay, now it's no longer an impulse buy. It's an actual major purchase. If a comic is $5 for a 24-page book, okay, that's a major purchase. Okay, and for most kids, I don't think they have $5 that they can blow on a 24-page comic. I don't know. I haven't been a kid in a long time. So
I would say yes, because they have $10 to buy coffee.
Okay, so if they have
$15 to buy Dogman,
that means they
oddly enough, it's like preteens are some of the biggest spenders that I see at conventions regularly. Like if I get a 13-year-old girl at the table, she will get 4, 5, 6 books sometimes. It's
well, so the audience is out there. Okay, the thing about it is it's all about the product, it's all about awareness, and it's all about income. If you have disposable income to spend on entertainment product, okay, then you have to make choices. So video games are still pretty expensive, but you get hours of entertainment.
$70 now.
Yeah, and movies are a social gathering type thing, and it's big and bombastic and things like that. But what does the Advantage Comics have? Why would someone want to spend $5 on a comic? Okay, when they have other entertainment options, because it was cheap. Okay, comics were cheap, disposable entertainment. I think we need to think about maybe going back to that.
Well, wasn't part of that reason though the print runs were just? I mean, they were just printing like. Yeah, it was just crap. There was advertising in those things too.
Yeah,
which would decrease your per unit cost tremendously. I mean, if I were to go print 100,000 units of a book, I can get a unit cost way down. But I got to be able to sell 100,000 units and not put it, have it filling my house.
Well, I mean, yes,
be sleeping on them, stuffing your mattress with comics.
Yeah.
Well, that's just beside the point. Is the fact that comics used to be thrown away. Okay, when they bought the comic, you read it, you were done with it. Okay, and you didn't care about it anymore. That's why back issues of old comics are so valuable, because nobody gave a shit about them.
Right.
They just tossed them in the trash can, folded it in their pocket, whatever. Now comics are collectible, and I think that the idea of comics being collectible is sort of antithetic to what comics are supposed to be about. Okay, they're not collectible. They're entertainment. Okay, and I think we need to focus on comics are good entertainment. Okay, it's a good way. It gets your kids to read.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you noticed that the Ohio governor just did a order for literacy, and because they said that the literacy rates in Ohio are so bad.
Get involved in the story.
Yeah. Yeah, I emailed them about it. I said that, well, I think comics is where you need to be pointing them, because like that's words, and there's a lot, you get a lot more variance of words in comics than you do in a novel or any other book that they're going to hand them. And you have art that they can get interested in, so they can go to the side and draw things also with those things. So I mean, it's, if you're talking about the literacy rates in this country are dropping, it's because people weren't reading comics.
Yeah. I growing up, it was my gateway into reading novels.
Yeah.
And that led me into reading Shakespeare and H.P. Lovecraft and everything else. So I mean, it's definitely a gateway. Randy, what are your thoughts
on exactly what? I agree with Marvin. So,
gotcha, Tom. Gotcha.
There you go.
There you are. No, we have to be all over the place. Ben's right too. I mean, we started out being a very inexpensive, cheap entertainment art form, and now we're not, especially the American comics. I don't see very many American comics in 5 and below, but they have a huge rack of $5 mangas sitting there.
Right.
But again, that's part of that's because that stuff's printed by the tens upon tens upon tens of thousands, and it sits in a warehouse somewhere and eventually gets liquidated because they haven't sold tens upon tens.
That's not, well, that's Ollie's. That's Ollie's. That's not 5 and below. The stuff at 5 and below is Viz and all of these other guys kicking out little anime size, thick black and white manga digest for like $5.
Yeah, those are probably lost leads for them.
Yeah, they are, but they're there.
Yeah,
Marvel, DC could do the same thing if they cared. Instead, Marvel takes their old masterworks and shrinks them down almost to a point where you have to have a magnifying glass to read them, and sticks them in the kids section as opposed to the graphic novel section where they belong. It takes Penguin to come out and do really beautiful hardback collections of stuff that they ought to be offering for next to nothing, that they're selling for $50 in hardback a pop, in order to get any good old fashioned reprints anymore. All of that stuff should be accessible. I've got a little tiny digest book here of the first 3 Avengers books in black and white that they used to give away. I don't know where that experiment went to. The one of the Detroit papers used to give away a weekly Spider-Man comic. They did it for a test market for 3 or 4 months. It was a great thing. Didn't have a lot of story in it. It had about half of an actual comic, but they gave it away for free. There needs to be a lot more experimentation like that. The corporations aren't going to do it, though, because they don't care. And the independent guys don't have the type of capital to risk to throw that out there. I mean, there should be comics in dollar stores, comics all over the place. I mean, where's
July?
How come Ripoff Press isn't selling Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers to every last dispensary that's popping up? Still classic material, still great stuff. And that market would buy it immensely once they figured out it was there and buy it. The big thing that I discovered when I was doing my newspaper, I did it for about 10 years, reinstilled my love of this art form, is folks will pick up, folks will read, folks will be entertained by comics. That just has to be accessible, and they have to know it's there. That's the 2 big things. Took about 6 months for the paper to pick up, but after a while, I was getting practically no returns, and the comics that I had inside of them, a lot of them were old syndicated comics or comics that were in public domain. And just anything that had good quality to it, especially from local folks, that I figured people would want to read, and we were moving a lot of product.
You bring up an interesting point, because newspapers used to run comics for free in their paper. Okay, and then how they made their money, the syndicates who did the comic strips, how they made their money was they collected all those strips into books, and that's where they made their money. Yeah.
Well, they charged the newspaper a little bit of money every time, and they split that with the creators. That's how they made their money up front. But the real money, you're right, we're in the big collections that were out there. Yeah. You're seeing webtoons do that now with like Lore Olympus and that, kicking out collections like that.
Yeah, so physical media is still viable.
Oh, very much so, yeah. There's nothing like having a book you hold in your hands or that you can put on the shelf and look at whenever you want.
Oh, yeah, I mean, they still sell, Calvin and Hobbes and Peanuts
Oh, yeah.
decades after the creators have died. Well,
Yep.
not Bill Watterson. He's still alive.
Yeah. After the strips have stopped. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, they're still out there.
And people still love them.
They do.
All right, cool.
And Marvel and DC is still print stuff that are 60 years old, you know.
But
they
haven't
have
done
the
that
library.
lately. You don't have the essentials and the showcase presents like you used to. Those were great books. I've got bookshelves filled with them back here. Phenomenal way to keep a record of all of that great old material. They don't do that anymore.
If
and
I was
it's also
Marvel or
cheap
DC,
enough, but it's also cheap enough that kids can buy them.
Exactly right.
they
15
were
bucks,
only-
you get
they were
25
15
issues. It's great.
Yeah, right. Huge volumes.
Yep.
But I'm
You
sorry,
gotta-
man, what were you gonna say?
But you know, the best books lately, the last 4 or 5 years, I've probably paid and gotten more books from Ollie's than I have from my local retailer. Because you can pop in there and pick up the overruns from, or you used to be able to, from Marvel and DC. Now it's all more modernistic material that nobody wants to buy. But way back when, you caught some pretty, really good, decent deals there, and some great
I gotta
books.
wonder where they got that stuff.
It was overruns. They would print. They'd get orders for 2,000. They'd print 5,000 because that's where the price break was. They'd warehouse the other 3,000, and then after a while, they try to blow them out through Diamond to the retailers, and whatever was left over went to Ollie's or Big Lots or wherever.
Yeah, makes sense.
And
Marcus?
pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, Marcus, what are your thoughts on it?
Oh, we're still talking about advertising, right? Marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things, and I can speak from this because it's something I do quite a lot in the day-to-day job. Is your market may vary. You have to go to where your needs are. Something I've been thinking about a lot lately, especially as I've been looking at the analytics and things like that from our Kickstarter campaigns. And I saw a need for us to grow in terms of who our backers are and build our base. And how do you do that? That's a tough thing. That's something, if any of us had the answers to it, we probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. We'd be counting our money. So, but it's something that I decided, like, okay, let me put the investment, like what we see with Planet Pumpkin. I think we got 35, 36 followers now. I have not talked about Planet Pumpkin in the newsletters for Odyssey. Usually the Biker Kid communications and things like that we start doing stuff with. I haven't mentioned it to any of our backer base. What I did was ran pre-launch ads or advertising on the pre-launch page. So everything that we have through there is 100% built from people clicking on the Facebook links and the social media links and then following along with the project. And then just like running raw numbers, I know I spent probably $80 on advertising. I know that we typically get about 35% conversion rate from the people following the campaign. If those 35 backers back that campaign, that's about 12, 13 backers. We average about $25 per pledge. So if everything shakes out, that's over $300 potentially, if everything just runs towards the average that audience will bring in. It's not a lot of people. It's not a ton. We can do that slowly. But what I've also done is now I have that campaign and those ad sets that have been running for 3 weeks that people have been clicking and I've been getting interactions with. So when the campaign launches, I throw out a new ad set, make the investment there, and all the people who may have glanced over or hovered on it or may have not followed it are now going to get Planet Pumpkin #1 blasted at them, especially if I start scaling the amount of money I'm spending on the ad more. So your methodology and where you're spending money really has to be based on where your needs are as a company. That's where my needs are. That's where I thought it was going to make the most effective use of the advertising money that I had to spend. So that's where I went ahead and put it. Different publishers, different creators, they're going to have a different set of problems, each one. But I always tell people, spend the time with it. Take a week just to pull whatever data you can, even if you need help looking at it with someone else, and just look at where you're succeeding, where you're not. And sometimes it's like, people don't look at it. It's like our campaigns got funded. I had no real reason to go back and look at it. We consistently get funded. We consistently have support, but I don't want to keep pitching comics to 1,200, 1,300 backers all the time. I want to see some sort of growth because that means that the exponential ability for our campaigns to reach more people and get more funding and be more successful is going to be driven by that number. And if it's not going up, then it's going down. It's going to be diminishing returns sooner or later. That's just the way it is. So that's the method I took.
Cool. Fair enough. For myself, I agree for the most part with Tom. Because the thing is that the way I look at it, look, the way I look at it is that most indie comics, we know where we're at. They're selling anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 books on average, right? We know Boom, Dynamite, Dark Horse, all those companies, they're probably selling anywhere from 5 or maybe even 3 to about 10, 12, maybe 15,000. And then they go up for depending on the title, depending on the creator, whoever, whatever, right? But what that tells me is that there's room to grow. You understand? For us. You understand? I don't care about their numbers. You understand? I care about us being able to grow. You understand? I hear about the top portion of Kickstarter campaigns missing numbers. A guy who's making $300,000 regularly on a campaign is moving down to $200,000. I don't care. You understand? But if I can move my $3,000 campaign to $5,000, that's something to me. I got room to grow. They might be shrinking, but I still got room to grow because those fans who is collecting are still there. So I can still push up. So that's why I agree with Tom, because I do feel that we have indie fans out there. We just got to reach, like I said, Neil Gaiman attracted 33,000 plus buyers, comic book buyers to his stuff. You understand? Independent comic book buyers. Now, I'm not Neil, but I'm not looking to get 33,000. If I could get 400 or 500 on a campaign, listen, I'll be happy.
I'm looking to get 33,000. What the fuck are you talking about, bro? We'll take anybody that wants to buy the fucking book.
Right. But the thing is, realistically, we know we're not going to get 33,000, right? But if we can get 400 or 500, 600, 700, that'd be great. Right. But we know there's room to grow. You understand?
Yeah, look at Polito, right? Polito pulls in like a regular 2,500 backers. 2,500. Doesn't even remotely close to what Neil did. But Polito is like top of the charts as far as indie comics guys go. And he does a regular like 2,500-ish backers. So if we're all down here, with our 1, 2, 3, 400, if we could even get ourselves to like 800, 900 backers, it changes everything for us. Yep. So we need the awareness, not just for crowdfunding, but retail and comic cons and everything. We just need the awareness funnel, the sales grail, as JD created, the sales grail. We just need that awareness.
The two things to keep in mind here is Polito didn't reach that number overnight.
No, not at all. No, not at all.
He did a lot of hard work towards it, and he does videos to show you what his thought process was in order to obtain it. And the second thing is there's such a concept around an alternative in indie comics that there is an enclosed pie, that there's only so much of that stuff that goes around, and if you take customers if you get extra customers, you're taking those customers from me, and that's not the way this works. And everybody needs to realize that, as Brian K. Morris likes to say, a rising tide raises all boats. Everybody needs to figure out if anything works. They need to tell everybody else how it works and not be afraid and keep it enclosed to themselves, thinking that they've got the secret sauce and everybody else can go hang.
Yep. Yeah. And part of Polito's success came from, this is very vital to this, what we're talking about, came from going back into retail on his own. He did Kickstarters for 2 years to kind of rebrand himself. And then he went back into retail stores with Diamond, selling that 2-year-old product. He wasn't even selling new product. He took a 2-year-old product, gave it to Diamond, and started to build himself there. And that is when you see a big spike from his, 800 or 1,000, whatever he was doing. Then there was a big pop because people were like, oh my God, this guy's still here. So it can be done.
Yep.
All right. Now, Jay, you shared this. I'm going to put it up.
Yeah, because Marvin brought it up, right, and about the literacy. And then this was shared by Russ, actually, from Dr. Brad Johnson. And this is an older post, but it still applies. Did you know that the comic book average a 53.5 rare words per thousand, compared with an average 30.9 rare words per thousand in children's books, and also higher than the adult average of 52.7. Let students read comics if it'll get them reading.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, those Twilight books really took that average down, but you know.
There you go.
Yeah. Tell them to read some Lovecraft. That'll bring it up.
Oh yeah,
All
good
the
luck.
Asimov.
And all the people who buy
But this applies to me as a kid. I wasn't reading comic books. I wasn't, I wasn't reading the stuff that I needed to read in school, right? I was told read Huck Finn, read Jules Verne, and okay, yes, are they classics? But it wasn't grabbing my interest.
Classics,
Right? And the best thing the best gift my mom ever gave me was letting me read comic books. Yes, it was.
That's what Classics Illustrated were for.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But I was reading the Doctor Strange Cloak and Dagger 2-pack, right? The 2-in-1 issue. As a kid, I was going after that, and I spent all day at Grandma's just on the floor going back and forth between that book, that comic book. Excuse me. There was that financial barrier of entry wasn't there the way it is today for younger kids.
I mean,
All right, so answer your question.
Everything else, are the prices any different than they were then with inflation? So if you add inflation to the price of that book, it's probably the same or more expensive.
Okay. Yeah.
The problem is that paychecks don't match inflation.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate. Like we mentioned that video games are expensive. Video games are actually one of the most cost-effective things that we have these days, especially compared to how many hundreds of millions of dollars average video game budget has now. A Nintendo 64 cartridge back in 1998 or 2000, whenever it was like $60. And new video game now is $70. It's actually has stayed under the rate of inflation. They're more cost effective than they ever have been.
Well,
people's money is tighter now.
That could be because they're paying their developers less too. So
yeah.
Well, the main advantage comics has is the barrier to entry is very, very low. I mean, if you look at comics, it's about as simplistic a thing that you can do. All you need is your imagination, a piece of paper, and a pencil. You can start making a comic. Okay, when you're making a movie or you're making a TV show, making a video game, that employs dozens of people, hundreds of people, even and the cost, the upfront initial costs is tremendous. But for comics, that's the beauty of comics, and this is the simplicity. The fact is that anybody actually, if you wanted to, can do a comic. And that's what gives us an advantage, is that if we can create something that will entertain people, then the return on investment is really good. What's that?
That's the Cat Kid Comic Club.
Cool.
You haven't seen that book, Scholastic. Dave Pilkey does that. Same guy does Dogman.
To Dogman.
This has done more to get kids into comics than what Marvel and DC has done the last 10 years. This book especially, because it teaches kids how to draw poop.
Those are important skills to have.
Those are very important skills. Nothing like teenage.
Most of the early stuff you're gonna do is gonna be shit anyway. So
spider poop, all of that stuff is all right here, man. And it's great. It's the most simplistic looking, horribly drawn, elementary school illustrations that you can imagine. But it tells kids to draw comics. The whole first book is the teacher who has the after school class teaching all these little funny animal characters how to draw comics, freaks out because the first sets of comics that they do are ultra violent, or they have to deal with poop or puke or whatever. And it takes her almost the whole book to realize that this is a way of expression. This is a way for the kids to express themselves and to say things and do things that they wouldn't do in real life. Just like those old Looney Tunes we used to watch, where you drop an anvil on the coyote's head. But and she comes to terms with that and goes, yeah, let's do all this stuff because it's stretching the kids' imaginations. It's a great book.
So yeah. I mean, Jay, you never answered your own question though.
I don't even remember what I asked.
Advertising.
Sad.
You're still hungover.
Advertising. Yeah.
Sorry, we get
You're still recovering from yesterday. What the hell?
I'm still
Yeah.
recovering from yesterday. No, I do think there needs to be a joint effort to advertise from all the way down from the publishers to the distributors, to the bigger ones that are out there. And even the retailers need to make a joint effort. If I don't want to say save the industry, but if we're going to bring more people into the stores,
they have to open their arms up to a wider audience. And that's been a big problem for the last 40 years because, like we said before, Diamond never tried to stretch out this industry. The retailers were busy just staying on top of what they had and what was coming in. And the publishers really didn't care as long as they were making money.
You actually bring up a pretty interesting point. I mean, I have been trying to convince Antarctic Press to do retail point of sale posters again. I don't know if publishers still do that anymore, but back in the old days, back in my day,
back in the good
publishers
old
would
days.
send out these packets full of posters and advertisements, and
you have to
things
pay
like
for that
the
now.
retailer
I was going to say,
actually-
when that stopped, when Diamond insisted that you pay to have it sent around.
You have to have
Yeah,
you have to pay for the pros. You have to pay for the prints. You have to pay for it to be sent around, and you have to pay for a barcode for all of them because they have to scan them.
Yeah. And I think that hurt because
sure.
now
definitely.
if you had a big poster in a comic book retailer, that people would see it and say, "Hey, that looks like a pretty interesting comic. I want that."
Yeah, I just
do you got to pay for shelf talkers too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything,
anything
that,
that goes through Diamond has to have a separate UPC.
Wow.
Even free comic book day isn't free to the retailer. They have to pay for the postage for the shipment.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The only way to get around it has to be a packing.
Well, we had actually considered just sending direct to the retailer.
Yeah, you could do that. Absolutely.
We do that. Yeah.
But
you
I
need
don't
to
know
know who's ordering from you.
Would be, the thing is, it might actually be cheaper just to go through Diamond.
Right.
At least the retailer would get it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Marcus, as we only got a few minutes left, you got a short question?
We'll try to keep it as short as possible.
Go ahead.
I was going to say this is something I wanted to, ask the panel today because it's something that I was asked recently. We've been talking a lot about the business end of comics as we typically do, but I really wanted to talk about the personal side. I was recently speaking with someone at Emerald City, and they were just kind of asking me how they were a young creator. They were looking to find their thing, and it's weird when I get these questions because I still feel like a baby and I don't know shit. And they're like, how'd you find basically what you're good at in comics? Like, we're all doing things. We're all in our separate little spaces, and we all do very different things collectively. But how you come about and how you find that place and where your niche is in the industry is something that's different for everybody. And I basically told that person, I just did a bunch of stuff and threw things at the wall to see what stick. And over that process, I come to find the things that I do very well. And I knew when I came into doing comics, I'm a good artist, but I'm not going to be a world-beating artist that's going to really make a name for himself in that way. I'm a decent writer, but I'm not going to be the next Gil Gaiman or anything like that. But what I can do is I'm a bit of a polymath when it comes to getting books together and everything. And when it comes to editorial stuff as an editor, I'm fucking insane. So editing and publishing became my thing because I saw that was the one area that I could outpace probably 99% of the people working in comics just by the sheer glut and my ability to get a team together, collaborate, and build out a book. And I think all of us have had similar experiences to led us to what we're doing now and how we came about finding that path for ourselves.
Yeah, cool. Ben, so what do you think of the question? Or what do you think is your biggest strength? Or how'd you find it?
And sleeping.
Yeah, he might have stepped away.
Must have.
All right, so let's skip over. Tom.
Maybe he celebrated too much last night. Didn't he?
I started wanting to be an artist and realized quickly that wasn't going to work. And so I put it aside after. I never really gave it a true run, to be honest, but I realized at a point it was like, okay, maybe I'm okay, but I've learned the basics, and now I've got to learn how to draw a horse and a car and all this other crap, and this is not going to work. So that's where I just kind of fell into the writing side, because I had created Critter. That's what I was drawing. And I was like, well, maybe I could write a story for this character and see where that goes. And so that's where I started writing the Critter story. And as I wrote that story and we were producing it, it was moving slowly because we weren't on any deadlines. And that's when I started to try a different genre. And that's where Penny for Your Soul kind of came in. And so I was writing different things at the same time. But for me, everything, I knew nothing. And everything that I did through the progression of dumping art to becoming a writer to finding artists to all of that, it was literally just I'm going to trip. I learned something. I tripped. I learned something. I tripped. I learned something. And all the way up to now, I can produce a book outside of the art. I can produce it from writing to art direction to editing to printing to public. I can do the whole thing. But that's 14 years of tripping and learning and then absorbing that ability into my skill set. I'm still a writer, but I am competent in basically all of the production elements of making a comic, shipping a comic, marketing a comic, all that kind of stuff. But all of that was just learned either because I wanted to learn it or because it was a requirement to learn it because I didn't have anybody else to do it.
Cool. Randy?
You get a real passion for the business once you get into it and decide that that's what you're going to do. Me, I grew up with it. I loved back when they were running that hashtag comics broke me. I was running a hashtag comics saved me because comics kept me sane. Most of my youth, grew up in a very repressive household and comics were literally my thing. I lived and breathed comics. That was it. Went to the library, learned everything about it. Wasn't allowed to buy superheroes for a while because they were too violent. But once I was able to buy them, I amassed a huge collection. I learned how they were done. And it just was a passion for me. And there's some stuff that I can do everything in, like I do HeroBot Zero, where I do all the work on it. And there's other things that I just write because I know I don't have a style of art that pertains to that particular story. So you have to know, like Clint Eastwood says, man's got to know his limitations. Mm-hmm. And again, just like Tom, you go through and you trip through it. You figure out what you're good at, what you're not good at, what you love and what you don't love. And you just do what you can, what you enjoy doing, what you have a skill for. And then you build that into a talent and you just build it up and out from there. That would be my biggest suggestion, is to try everything and don't dismiss yourself off the bat, because there's so many. And I teach cartooning, or taught cartooning before the bug hit, after school to a lot of kids. You get a little switch in your brain, and once you tell yourself you can't do something, you're not going to be able to do it. And it's a matter of going out and trying and doing. And a lot of it's just skill. It's like learning how to play a guitar. You want to learn how to play a guitar, do it. Keep doing it until you learn it. And comics are the same way. It's just like any other artistic skill. You want to learn how to paint, same thing happens. It's not just being able to walk up and put a brush with paint on a canvas. You learn all the techniques, you learn the different tricks of the trade, and you do it, and you either love doing it and you keep doing it, or you don't. I tell everybody, once you hold, that's why doing physical comics is so important. Once you hold that first book in your hand, it kind of gets into your blood, and you decide then if you're going to do it for the rest of your life. And that's all you want to do. And for me, that's what it was.
All right, cool. Marvin?
I mean, I think I already answer. Trial and error.
No.
Trial and error.
Trial and error.
Okay.
Get knocked in the dirt and getting back up again, right? Like you dust off, get knocked down again, you get back up. That's the only thing you really learned anything going on. Because remember, we all most of us came from America Online days where we do nothing. Like Tom was saying, I didn't do nothing. Nothing at all. I know it now.
Gotcha. All right. I don't know. Ben, are you back?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So I don't know if you heard the question. So Marcus was asking, how did you find that thing in comics that drove you to do what you do today?
Well, I mean, I've always loved comics. That was one of the things I always, even when I was a kid, I wanted to draw comics. Yeah, you have to have a passion. If you have to have a total dedication and passion if that's what you want to do, and you have to work at it. You really, really have to work at it. If this is something that you really want to do, then there's no substitute for just simply, working at it and getting it done. You can't make excuses. You can't say, "Oh, I don't have time. I can't do this." Blah blah blah. And you follow the three. There's three things I was told that will get you success in life. You have to be either really good, you have to be either really reliable, or you have to be personable. If you got two of those things, then you'll probably do pretty well. And it's just one of those. Also, get to know people. Build bridges. Make friends. Try to get wisdom from people who've been down the road already. Ask questions. The thing about it is that I'm never afraid to ask people things, and because my feeling is that the worst they can say is no. If they say that, then you move on. But like I said, it's just if this is something you want to do, then just do it. Just quote Nike, do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Like a good neighbor.
It's so easy to get discouraged too by not being perfect right off the bat.
Sales suck.
Tell everybody that what Dave Sims was right in saying everybody has 2,000 incredibly lousy pages in them, and then once you hit the 2,000th and first, you might actually know what you're doing.
Wow, that's a high watermark.
Oh, whenever anybody asks me that question, I say that just remember that anything the first try out, you're going to suck at.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
First time you do something, you're going to be terrible at it. So just accept that it's going to be bad and get better.
Yeah. I tell everyone, your first comic probably wasn't that good. It just,
oh yeah,
it just is what it is.
Just the first.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, according to Dave Sim, the first 2,000 pages. So there you go.
Yeah.
It's an arrangement. So Jay, what are your thoughts on the question?
I don't know. I want to stick with Marvin. I just don't know how to identify it as tenacity, stubbornness, or stupidity being my biggest strength for being in here, dude.
Could just be passion.
It's that, but like my background, I took the longest fucking winding road to get here. My background is in retail and retail management, and then I spent time as a vendor, so I learned both ends of the B2B, and then I try to apply those theories that I've learned from big business to comics, and none of those fucking theories apply at all. You can't set up a spreadsheet and projections to something that is based in creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So having to try to forget some of those theories and try to run with the business itself has been confusing and slightly rewarding when I figured something out at the same time. That's kept me in here.
Interesting. All right. I don't know. For myself, when I was a kid, I met this guy in junior high school, and I was drawing and I was writing, and then he was an artist and he was drawing, and I looked at his drawings, and the once I saw his drawings, I was like, yeah, I can stop drawing now. I can just focus on writing. He was that good. I was just like, I don't need to write. I don't need to draw anymore. I can just write. Because that's where I felt my strengths lied, and I was just like, he was really killing it, and we were just 12 or 13. And the other part of that is when I started out with like Daphne, my friend Matthew, Zach, all these different guys. I was doing Golden Arm Unlimited. I met them we were all teenagers, and we probably produced in my closet, I'm pretty sure I got 200 or 300 pages that will never see the light of printed day that we produced together as a team. And I mean, that we criticized one another, and we were in our teens. We were 16, 17, 18 years old. And I mean, and we beat the hell out of each other. They were all from art and design. We all wanted to produce really good work. And once in a while, we would have a professional or a semi-pro, meaning somebody who's working in one of the smaller companies, come over and help us out and give us critiques because they were alumnus from the school. And they would come by and give us advice. And they would be like, yeah, work on this, work on this, work on this. And so, yeah, we had that added benefit to it. So we started off really, really young. So, yeah. But yeah, it was basically that thing where I met my friend in junior high school. I was just like, oh, yep, I could just stick to writing. And I just stuck to writing. You know,
Well,
so yeah.
you didn't need to do it anymore, so you didn't do it.
Exactly.
That reminds me back in the day, you know, there used to be like Marvel and DC bullpens where artists would actually work together in one room and they would compete with each other. They would share ideas with each other. You know, that's certainly missing nowadays with the
CrossGen tried that and it didn't go so well.
That was more of a compound.
Yeah.
Situation.
I mean, unless he ran out of money.
Well, he didn't.
That too.
Well, yeah, but even the system, like you talked to some of those guys that lived in that system, it was just grating.
Yep.
Rather than
but it usually made them better artists because you know it's something about competition. You know, when you have,
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, we have a group of artists together. You know, you're always trying to one up each other. You're always trying to do better than the other guy. You know, and that improves the whole thing. Everyone improves. You know, because you're. I'm not saying that you're in a direct competition, but you see what this guy's doing. And sometimes you get some good ideas. You say, oh, I like the way you drew your hands. I like the way you drew your feet. I like the way you drew your face. You know, I'm sure there was some borrowing here and there, you know, and all that kind of. And plus, maybe there was no love lost between fellow artists. You know, I don't know if Jack Kirby or Steve Ditko, you know, were friends. Yeah, but you know, but at least if you're in an environment where you're working, you know, it's there can be some creative synergy going on there, you know.
I get that with my artists at Big Dog Inc. Like we'll be in just showing pages and stuff on a show, and like I'll have a couple of artists, and the other artist who it's not his work, he's looking at it like, God damn, like you're doing really good with that, and like I love how you did this and whatever. And so I hear it all the time, like, dude, that guy you got is really good. I got to step up myself and like look good within the brand. And I'm like,
I mean, Energy Press actually had we had a bullpen at one time, you know, before it was like, especially during the 90s and the early 2000s, you know, when we had our main office building, you know, we actually had artists come in, you know, and we would draw in the office building, and there was a synergy. And also, if things fell behind, then one artist could come in and help out, you know, and say, oh, I'm really behind on this issue. Can you help me with this? Or one artist would help, you know, if we needed a cover, we could bang out a cover one day because there was an artist there to do it, you know.
Yeah.
The early days of Image where they were all inking each other and, you know.
Yeah, and they were helping each other out. So, I mean, I'm sure those days are long gone, but, you know, those were interesting times.
Well, it's one direction for us with Odyssey, and you guys probably might think I'm crazy too saying this, is, you know, everything's creator owned with us. We do everything through submissions and development. And, you know, as I talked about how I sort of found my lane, that's also the thing that I think is, when it comes to publishing, that is also a niche for us too. It's the development side, what we do at Odyssey. Like a lot of publishers have these horror stories and things like that of teams that they've dealt with. And at Odyssey, I don't have any of that. The vibes are 100% positive for 100% of the projects. And we do quality stuff. And the collaboration between everyone works so well. And I had to start recognizing that this is sort of a unique thing that we're able to do. So we're shifting more from publishing comics, I would say, in a traditional sense, where we're taking submissions and everything like that. Now we're doing our first efforts where we're just bringing aboard teams. and we're developing something that works within the Odyssey ecosystem and what our fans and our readers like to see from us. But what comes out of it, I'm not handing down any editorial mandates. We're tossing ideas around. This is good. This sounds good. We start going from there. It's similar to like how a first look deal works with a movie studio. You know, if you have Christopher Nolan or something that comes aboard, you know, WB isn't going to browbeat him too much about what particular thing he's looking to develop. They want to ensure the quality's there, make sure that it works from them from a business standpoint, but believe in the process and development and where things are going from there. So we're going to see how it works out. But as I think, you know, we continue to release more stuff this year, you know, people are going to start seeing it if they haven't seen already, where we were operating before we sort of started this technique and where we are now. What we're seeing is higher quality of books that we're putting out. Stories are getting sharper and better. The teams are getting better. People are passing the word around. So now, you know, the submissions that I'm getting are coming from, and the people looking to work with us are you know, people that are coming from the big 2, the big 3, big 4, however you want to break it down, things like that, off the strength of what we've been able to do. So it's like, I know in the grand scheme of things, it's not something that will work for a lot of people because I'm a psychopath and I don't mind being attached to 24 different projects at a time and not sleeping and things like that. But I found also that's where I get my energy from when it comes to the development side of comics. I love burning myself the fuck out, like working on a bunch of stuff, but like getting it to the finish line and helping people out from that standpoint. And so far it's been doing, you know, good on the business side for us too. So we're just going to make that part of our identity as a company. So yeah, if people got ideas and they think that they got a team, they could put something, like I just did that with Team Now. I actually passed on their idea, but I was like, I love this team. So come in, we'll get a room together. We'll, you know, hatch out a deal to go into a developmental partnership, and then let's make a cool fucking comic book and try to make it awesome. That's all I'm looking to do.
All right, cool. So listen, gentlemen, we made it to hour 2. This was awesome. Thank you so much for being here, guys. And let's start with Randy. Where can they find you and your work, sir?
You can find my work at arrowcomics.store. You can find Little Spank the Monkey over there, some Herobot Zero, Calico Shard, and Paragon coming soon. Fool will be over there, and another book we didn't even campaign called Alice in Chains that I'm really, really proud of. Other than that, you can find me Friday mornings at 5 a.m. at Comics by Night, and Sunday mornings at 9 a.m. These are Eastern Standard times for Sunday Funnies, where we look through comics and great sequential art that inspire, that are meant to inspire. And we talk with different longtime professionals like myself about different techniques and different things about these books. Like just this morning, we went through Almuric by Roy Thomas and Tim Conrad.
Nice.
And if you've never seen that product, that was a great product based off of a science fantasy novel by Edgar Rice Burroughs. No, by Robert E. Howard wrote that. But that's where you can find me. If you want to contact me personally, I'm usually on Facebook, hardly ever on X because that's a bastion of hate and trolling, and I'm not into negativity and stuff like that. So you find me on Facebook more than anywhere.
Gotcha. I don't know if Marvin is still there. I think he had to step away.
Marvin.
All right. Ben, where can they find you and your work, sir?
Well, you can go to my website, bendencomics.com, or you can find me on Facebook. I am on X. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and that's you can usually find me pretty easily. I also have a YouTube channel that I do daily diary type things, so you can find me there as well.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, you definitely want to follow Ben on TikTok. Those dances are yes.
Tom, where can they find you and your work, sir?
I am mostly Facebook, guys. That's where we kind of start everything, and then it all filters out to Instagram, Twitter. We have a Patreon as well, BigDogInc.com. I'll take you right to our web store, and we'll be launching the next issue of Critter number 23, April 6th for our next issue.
All right, cool. Marcus?
OdysseyComics.com. Easy enough.
Easy enough. Mr. Rosario?
UnstoppableComics.com. You'll find all of my social media links there. And we are launching the next New York versus the World in 2 weeks. So hopefully you come hang out with us.
All right, cool. Well, you know, I'm here most Sundays, and you know, where do I even begin? I'm messing up the end of my own show. But listen, you can find me on Twitter, Facebook, or all these different places, whatever. But look, in the show notes, all these different links to all these different projects from all these various creators. Go click on those links. Go buy some books. Go back some books. Go watch out for the future campaigns that are coming up. All right, and just remember, read more comics, especially ours. Thank you so much, guys. Have a great
Later.
night.
Take care.
everybody.
Bye bye.